It is my greatest pleasure to introduce our guest of honor, Dr. Wan Rizal. He is the Member of Parliament for Jalan Besar GRC. Before I invite him on stage, a bit of introduction if you don't already know him. He's the Member of Parliament. He champions mental health, digital literacy, and the well-being of communities across Singapore. He also works closely with partners from government, education, and labour to create positive impact, most recently through his new role at NTUC's Employment and Employability Institute. So please join me in welcoming Dr. Wan Rizal.
Thank you, Cassandra. A very good morning to everyone. Thank you, Theo, for inviting me once again to be here. It's good to see some familiar faces. We've been in the mental health space quite a bit, so you more or less know the stories that I tell. I just had my parliamentary speech yesterday where I talk about mental health again. And actually, they prepared for me a script to read. And as you all know by now, I'm dyslexic. So there are times I just feel lazy and I tell myself, let's ditch the script and let's go with the flow. So I took three things from what they mentioned earlier, and I'll expand on that later. But just to update again, yes, I'm now with NTUC, where we work very closely with employers, of course the workers, and of course with the government. And I think the special thing about Singapore is how tripartism works. All this while I talk about tripartism, but I never understood until I sat on the table and I have to discuss how to negotiate amongst three different entities. And it's not easy when you want the workers to have what they want, the employees to have what they want, and of course the government to accede to some of these things. A very nice balance. I'm still learning. I'm only 1 month into the job. But one thing I've learned, I look into employing and employability, so employment and employability, but I also look at retrenchments. And that part is actually quite sad for me because, you know, when things happen, like you heard recently, MediaCorp released a few, and most recently Agoda did something out of nowhere, which was really uncalled for. Just to let you know the difference between MediaCorp and Agoda, the way they handled things is because MediaCorp is unionized, so the union was involved early and at the start to help those who were affected, whereas Agoda is not under a union, and it was difficult for us to come in and help the workers. So if your company is not yet unionized, please consider being unionized. Okay, I put that aside. So that's my day job, okay? To get more companies involved. But I truly believe in this. Now that I'm in and I understand the space much better, I truly believe that the workers' productivity should not be tied to just the ROI or productivity and cost benefits. I think there's something a lot more beyond that. And I think where I come in at NTUC is to provide this perspective that the importance of mental health and well-being is actually utmost. Because when you have strongly motivated teams, those who are doing very well in terms of their health, tends to do better. And you have a much more safer workplace for them to thrive in. And three things that I could have gotten from the presentations earlier. Number one is AI. And AI innovation is something I'll leave it to them, but the AI pace and how technology has evolved is totally amazing. What they've produced and they will showcase, I think is amazing, but it also reflects how the global AI acceptance and pace have moved. In fact, one of my greatest worries when AI not just augments job, it takes over the job completely, and we see a lot of transformation. And this is not new. We've gone through these phases many times in history. Productivity has come in. We've seen our telephone operators move from, you know, when I was younger, my phone is the one where I have to pull the dial, and it goes back. That was my time. And at the other end, if I'm not wrong, someone has to put in the wires to connect. Gone are those workers. It has gone. Computer has taken over the roles, and a lot more has happened till then. And AI will be that change that we are going to go through. We'll see a lot more transformation of jobs, which means we will have to understand what are the greatest anxieties our workers have. And that's really how they need to navigate as we move forward. And that's where I think the mental well-being becomes very important. The ability to be resilient, the ability to adapt, and the ability to move on into a new space that we have no control over. I am also afraid I might lose my jobs because my AI covers like half of my emails. I do come in because that human touch is important, but it does affect. The second thing I took in from what you all raised was trust. And I trust is one of the crux of, we have parliament this week. President gave a speech 2 weeks ago. He talked about trust and the we care approach in Singapore. And I think this is something that mental health and well-being is front and center. In my speech yesterday, I talked about mental health. If you know, actually nobody catches our parliamentary speeches, but if you can, please go in and have a look and hear me say a bit about what mental health means as we move forward here in Singapore. In a we care society, we need to make sure that everybody's on board. And one of the anchors to that is actually mental health and well-being. Our ability to make sure that our organizations provide a safe space where our leaders understand the importance of mental health so that we can provide the due assistance, support, and of course that motivation for someone to move on. And I think these are areas that we can do a lot further. I also raised one important point that I see as I look into my current role. I see people struggling to get back. That means they took some time off from work and they are trying to get back to work and they find it a struggle, not because they are not relevant anymore, because I think there's a lot of anxiety that comes with it. And I think even for my side, I've introduced what we call a bit more support in terms of mental health for those who are seeking jobs. Because I think we tend to forget that. We think that everybody looks for jobs based on what they have, credentials is enough, and they don't face any anxiety. In fact, they do, and I appreciate that and understand that, and I think that's why it's important to see a more holistic view of this. Anyway, the third one I took out was boots, because boots I think is a good reminder of what you all do on the ground. People tend to forget the important things that the boots are doing, because without those people on the ground pushing for mental health, I think it will be long forgotten. Just to give you an aspect, a lot of people tell me that why am I still talking about mental health? Isn't the pandemic over? Actually, it's not true. In 2023, the 15% prevalence of mental health shows that it's still higher than during COVID. So I think it's still going up. The good thing is that a lot more understand the importance of mental health. So please work together with me. I will work together with you in making sure that the mental health space, at least in Singapore, is something that we can continue to grow, and our efforts remain sustained, and it continues to be a national priority. So thank you once again for inviting me today. I'm sorry I went a lot of speech, but build what matters today. Make sure that conversations go far. Make sure what you want is being shared, and hopefully one day we can make that happen. So thank you once again.